Stop the video right now if you still believe you're a good person, because what I'm about to tell you will shatter that illusion forever. In 1503, a broken man sat alone in a cold prison cell in Florence. His body was tortured, his career destroyed, everything he built gone. But his mind was sharper than ever. In that silence, he saw something terrifying, the truth about human nature that everyone knows. But nobody dares to admit he wrote it all down. Every hidden rule, every ruthless pattern that separates winners from victims. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli. Yes, Niccolo Machiavelli. And he discovered something most people will never accept. The people you admire most are not kind. They're strategic. They're playing a game you don't even know exists. Right now, as you watch this, someone is studying you, reading you, calculating your worth, measuring your weakness, deciding if you're useful or disposable. And you're making it so easy for them because nobody ever taught you the real rules. You think kindness wins. It doesn't. You think honesty is the best policy. It's not. You think good people finish first. Look around. They're finishing last. Confused, drained, still wondering why life keeps punishing them for doing everything right. Here's what nobody tells you. There are two worlds. The first one, the world they teach you in school, where fairness matters, where hard work pays off, where being good is enough. Then there's the real world, where power decides everything, where a perception beats reality, where the ruthless inherit the earth, while the righteous inherit nothing. You've been living in that first world, still wondering why nothing makes sense today. You enter the second, and I'll warn you, once you see these patterns, you'll never unsee them. Once you understand how this really works, you'll never trust anyone the same way again. You'll use this knowledge to protect yourself, to build walls, to stop being a victim. Machiavelli didn't write this for good people or bad people. He wrote it for people who are tired of losing, for people who are done being confused, for people finally ready to see reality without the filter. So here's my only question. Are you ready to stop being naive? Because these 7 lessons will either set you free or turn you into a monster. The choice is yours, but you can't make that choice without knowing the game. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I'm ready to see the truth. Number 1. Your emotions are your enemy. You care too much about what people think, about being liked, about being understood, about being seen as good. And that caring is a leash around your neck, a leash that everyone else is quietly holding. Here's what Machiavelli saw that you don't. Emotions make you predictable. Predictable makes you controllable. Controllable makes you weak. The person who cares less always has the power. Watch any negotiation. The one desperate for the deal loses. The one who can walk away wins always. Not sometimes, always. Why? Because desperation smells like blood in the water, and whether they admit it or not, everyone around you is a shark. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does it once what the fool does finally." The fool gets attached, emotionally, invests, gets desperate, then loses everything and learns too late. The wise man, he stays detached from the start. He calculates, he observes, he acts with logic, not emotion. Let me show you how this plays out. You have someone in your life who matters to you. They know it, and because they know it, they have leverage. They cancel plans. You accept it. They disrespect your time. You smile through it. They take you for granted. You keep showing up. Why? Because you're emotionally attached and they're not. That imbalance is power. Now imagine this. You cared 50% less. Not 0, just less. They cancel. Okay. No problem. And you don't do. You move on. What happens? Suddenly, they're checking in. They're wondering if you're upset. They're trying to make it up to you. The power shifted the moment your emotional investment decreased. This works everywhere. Someone insults you. Your natural instinct, defend yourself. Prove them wrong. Show them who you are. That's emotion. That's weakness. Instead, respond with calm indifference. If you say so, then walk away. They're left disarmed, confused, because their attack found nothing to grip, no reaction to feed their ego. Here's the part that sounds cold, but it's actually freedom. People are temporary. Circumstances change. Feelings fade. The only constant is you. The moment you attach your peace to external things, people's opinions, outcomes, approval, you've handed over your power. Calculated detachment doesn't mean you don't love. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you love and care from a place of choice, not need. You engage because you want to, not because you'll collapse if you don't think about the comms person you know. The one who never seems rattled. The one who handles chaos like it's a Tuesday. They're not emotionless. They're detached from outcomes. They know that whatever happens, they'll handle it. That certainty comes from not needing any specific result to be okay. Here's your practice. Identify the 3 things you're most emotionally attached to right now. A person, a goal, a situation. Now ask yourself, if this disappeared tomorrow, would I survive? The answer is yes, you would. You always shave. That awareness is the beginning of detachment. Start creating space between what you want and who you are. Your worth isn't tied to outcomes. Your identity isn't dependent on approval. Your peace isn't conditional on everything going your way. The goal. Reach a state where you engage fully, but hold everything loosely. Play the game with intensity, but don't collapse when you lose. Invest in people, but don't need them to validate you. Pursue your goals, but stay unshaken if they don't happen. That's calculated detachment. That's power. That's how you become someone who can't be manipulated through emotion. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am whole without external validation. Number 2. Study people like prey. You're blind to patterns because you want to believe people are complicated. They're not. Humans are incredibly predictable once you learn to watch instead of react. Machiavelli spent his entire life observing power dynamics. Kings, generals, advisors, merchants. And noticed something fascinating. People repeat the same behaviors over and over. Same triggers, same reactions, same patterns. And whoever sees the pattern first controls the interaction. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." People follow their programming like robots. They just don't realize it. But you're about to. Here's how this works. Someone you know gets angry when they feel disrespected. That's their pattern. Now you know. If you want to throw them off balance, subtly disrespect them. If you want to manipulate them, show exaggerated respect. If you want to avoid conflict, never trigger their respect meter. See one pattern, multiple applications. Another example. Someone needs to feel important. That's their core drive. They name drop. Tell stories where they're the hero. Constantly position themselves as special. Now you know exactly how to handle them. Make them feel important and they'll do anything for you. Threaten their importance and they'll become your enemy. Ignore them entirely and they'll either chase you or avoid you. Pattern recognized, power acquired. Most people are running on 3 or 4 core needs. Validation, control, safety, significance. Watch what someone does repeatedly, and you'll identify which needs drive them. Once you know their needs, you know their buttons. Once you know their buttons, you can push them or protect them. Your choice. Let me give you a framework for the next week. Pick one person. Don't interact yet. Just observe. Notice, what do they talk about most? What makes them defensive? What makes them light up? What do they avoid? What do they seek? Within a week, you'll understand them better than people who've known them 4 years. Why? Because you're studying them like a scientist, while everyone else is just reacting. Here's where this gets powerful. Someone's trying to manipulate you, but you've studied their pattern. You see the manipulation coming 3 steps ahead. You can either play into it and let them think they're winning while you position yourself strategically, or you can sidestep it entirely and watch them waste energy on tactics that no longer work on you. Think about salespeople. The good ones study you in the first 30 seconds. They identify if you're driven by fear or desire. If you need social proof, if you make decisions emotionally or logically, then they adjust their pitch to match your pattern. That's why you buy things you don't need. They saw your pattern before you did. Now use that same skill in your life. The person who's constantly in crisis They need rescue and attention. That's their pattern. You can choose to be the rescuer and get drained, or recognize the pattern and set boundaries. The person who's always competing with you, they need to feel superior. Let them win small battles while you win the war. The person who gossips about everyone, they'll gossip about you too. That's the pattern. Adjust your trust accordingly. But here's the twist. You have patterns too. And if you can see yours, you can disrupt them before others exploit them. What triggers you consistently? What do you avoid? What do you seek? Your self-awareness is your shield against those who would use your patterns against you. Machiavelli studied people because he understood a brutal truth. Humans haven't changed in thousands of years. Same desires, same fears, same predictable behaviors, wearing different clothes. The person who sees others stumble in confusion becomes untouchable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I see patterns others miss. Number 3. Weaponize your absence. You're everywhere, always available, constantly responding, never unavailable, and it's killing your value faster than any insult ever could. Here's the law of scarcity applied to humans. What's always available becomes wallpaper. What's scarce becomes precious. You've made yourself wallpaper in everyone's life, and now you're wondering why nobody appreciates you. Machiavelli observed that the most powerful rulers weren't the ones who appeared in public constantly. They were the ones whose appearance was an event. When they showed up, it meant something. When they spoke, people listened. Why? Because their presence was rare enough to be valued. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But let me add to that. It's impossible to be either feared or loved if you're always there. Familiarity doesn't breed contempt. It breeds indifference. Think about your favorite musician. If they released a new song every single day, would you care about each one? No. But when they disappear for a year and drop an album, everyone pays attention. The absence created anticipation. The scarcity created value. Now look at your life. Who do you value more? The person who's always free when you call, or the person who's selective about their time? The friend who responds immediately to every text, or the one who takes hours because they're actually busy with their own life? You already know the answer, yet you keep making yourself the person nobody values. Here's what weaponized absence looks like. Someone reaches out. You have time. But instead of responding instantly, you respond when it's convenient for you. Not games, not manipulation. Just respecting your own time enough that other people's urgency doesn't automatically become your priority, or someone wants to make plans, you're available. But this person has a history of being flaky, so you say you're busy. You create scarcity, and suddenly they're more invested in actually showing up because access to you isn't guaranteed. Let me tell you what happens when you master this. People start planning around you instead of expecting you to plan around them. Your time becomes respected because it's limited. Your presence becomes appreciated because it's not assumed. Your attention becomes valuable because it's not freely given to everyone. But here's the advanced level. Strategic absence isn't just about being unavailable. It's about disappearing at the right moments. Someone's taking you for granted. Reduce your presence in their life. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Just become less available. They'll notice the void. They'll wonder what changed. And if they actually value you, they'll reach out and adjust their behavior. If they don't notice or don't care, congratulations. You just learned they never valued you in the first place. Your absence revealed their truth. Now you know where to invest your energy, and it's not with them. Think about attraction. The person who's always chasing creates disinterest. The person who's occasionally unavailable creates intrigue. Why? Because humans are wired to pursue what's moving away from them and ignore what's constantly approaching. Your absence creates space for people to miss you, to wonder about you, to appreciate you. But only if your absence is real, meaning you're actually invested in your own life when you're not with them. Here's your assignment. For the next 2 weeks, cut your availability in half. Not for everyone, but for people who've been taking you for granted. When they reach out, sometimes you're busy. When they want plans, sometimes you already have something. When they need something, Sometimes you can't help watch what happens. Some people will step up and start valuing your time. Those air keepers. Others will get frustrated that you're not there on call emotional support or problem solver. Those just revealed themselves. Thank them for showing you who they are. But the real magic happens inside you. When you weaponize your absence, you're forced to build a life worth being absent for. You develop interests, hobbies, goals, projects, a world that doesn't revolve around being available for others. And that full rich life becomes magnetic in a way that neediness never could be. The paradox of presence. The less you offer it, the more it's desired. The more you give it freely, the less it's appreciated. Master your absence, and your presence becomes a gift instead of an expectation. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My absence speaks volumes. Number 4. Control the narrative before it controls you. Truth doesn't matter, only perception does. And if you're not controlling how people perceive you, someone else is doing it for you. Probably not in your favor. Machiavelli understood something that most people die without learning. Reputation is more powerful than reality. A prince can be generous, but if people perceive him as stingy, he might as well be stingy. A leader can be strong, but if people perceive weakness, the kingdom falls. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Appearance is everything, not because truth doesn't exist, but because most people will never get close enough to verify it. They'll judge you based on the story they tell themselves about you, and that story comes from the narrative you project or fail to project. Here's how this destroys people. They achieve something great but present it casually. Oh, it was nothing. They think humility is attractive. Meanwhile, someone else achieves something mediocre but presents it like they conquered Everest. Guess who gets more respect? The person who controlled the narrative you're sitting on. Accomplishments, skills, and value that nobody knows about because you think showing off is wrong. Meanwhile, people with half your ability running the show because they mastered perception. Let me show you how this works. To people launch a business. Person A is humble, downplays their success, doesn't share much. Person B posts every win, frames every challenge as a strategic pivot, creates the appearance of constant momentum. Both businesses are doing the same numbers, but investors flock to Person B, customers trust Person B, opportunities come to Person B. Why? Because Person B controlled the narrative. They shaped perception. They understood that, in the marketplace of attention, the loudest signal wins, not necessarily the strongest reality. Now, this doesn't mean Lee. It means frame. Every situation can be framed multiple ways. You choose which frame people see. You didn't get the opportunity you wanted. Don't say I got rejected. Say I'm evaluating different options. Same reality, completely different perception. One makes you look desperate. The other makes you look selective. You're going through something difficult. Don't broadcast struggle. Share the lesson after you've overcome it. Here's what I learned from that challenge is powerful. I'm drowning and don't know what to do. Is weakness that people will remember forever. Here's the dark side. People are writing your story now in their minds based on fragments they see. If you're not giving them the narrative, they're creating one, and their version is usually worse than reality, because the humans fill gaps with assumptions and assumptions lean negative. Someone sees you quiet at a gathering. They might assume you're unfriendly. You were just tired. But that doesn't matter. Their perception is their reality. But what if you controlled it? I'm conserving energy for something big. I'm working on. Same silence. Completely different story. The framework for controlling narrative. Decide who you want to be perceived as. Then make every visible action align with that perception, not fake, strategic. If you want to be seen as reliable, be selectively reliable with high visibility. If you want to be seen as successful, share wins strategically. If you want to be seen as mysterious, withhold information intentionally. Watch politicians. Whether you like them or not, they're masters of narrative control. They don't answer questions directly. They pivot to their talking points. They stay on message. They control what story gets told, because they know whoever controls the story controls reality in people's minds. Now apply this to your life. Someone asks about your situation. You decide what part of the truth they hear, not lying, framing, emphasizing certain aspects while minimizing others, shaping perception before perception shapes you. Here's what most people get wrong. They think being authentic means sharing everything. No, authenticity is being true to yourself. Narrative control is being strategic about what the world sees. You can be both. Your private life can be messy. Your public presentation should be polished. Your internal doubts can be real. Your external confidence should be unshakable. Not because you're fake, but because perception determines opportunities, and opportunities determine outcomes. The brutal truth: to people with identical abilities have completely different lives based solely on how well they control their narrative. One is seen as a leader, the other is overlooked. One is trusted, the other is doubted. Same skills, different perception, different life. Stop letting reality speak for itself. It doesn't speak loud enough. Control the narrative or spend your life confused about why people don't see your value. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I write my own story. Number 5. Exploit reciprocity. You give freely and expect nothing in return because you think that makes you good. It does. It also makes you forgettable and often exploited. But give strategically. That's how you build an army of people who feel indebted to you. Machiavelli noticed that the most powerful people weren't stingy. They were generous, but calculated about it. They gave in ways that created loyalty. They helped in ways that built obligation. They invested in people who could return value. Machiavelli once said, "Benefits should be conferred gradually, so that they may be better enjoyed." Here's the psychology. When someone does you a favor, especially unsolicited, you feel obligated to return it. That's hardwired into human social behavior. Reciprocity is one of the strongest psychological preslips, and most people use it accidentally. Masters use it strategically. Let me show you the difference. Persona helps everyone who asks. They give their time freely. They're always available. What happens? People take advantage because there's no scarcity and no obligation. Help is expected, not appreciated. Person B is selective. They help specific people in specific ways at specific times. Each act of help is meaningful, visible, and creates clear value. What happens? Recipients feel genuinely grateful. They feel indebted. They look for ways to return the favor. Person B just built influence. Here's how you apply this. Someone asks for a help. Instead of automatically saying yes, pause. Ask yourself, is this person worth investing in? Will they remember this? Will they be in a position to help me later? If the answer is no to all three, you're donating energy to a black hole. If the answer is yes, help, but make it count. Don't just give generic advice. Go above and beyond in a way you'll remember. Create a moment where they think, wow, I need to repay this somehow. Now, here's the advanced technique. Give before being asked. Identify someone who could be valuable in your network. Find a way to help them without them requesting it. Maybe you connect them with someone. Maybe you share information they need. Maybe you support their project publicly. What you've done is created unexpected reciprocity. They didn't ask, so they feel extra obligated. You helped with that pressure, so it feels more genuine. You've just deposited value in the relationship bank. And the best part, they'll look for ways to repay you without you ever asking. But here's the crucial part. Never mention what you've done for people. Don't keep score out loud. Don't remind them. That erases the goodwill instantly. Give strategically. Then let the obligations sit naturally. People remember what you've done. Trust that when you need something, they'll be there. Watch how successful people work. They're constantly doing small favors, introducing people, sharing opportunities, offering insights. Each one is a strategic deposit. Then when they need something, they have a whole network of people who feel they owe them. That's not manipulation. That's smart relationship building. But here's the filter. Only invest in people who understand reciprocity. Some people take and never think about giving back. You'll spot them quickly. They're always asking, never offering. They benefit from your help and disappear. Once you identify them, cut off the supply. No more free help. No more energy investment. They don't understand the game, so don't play it with them. The people worth investing in, they reciprocate naturally. You help them once, they look for ways to help you back. They remember, they appreciate, they operate from abundance, not scarcity. Those people, help them generously and often. You're building alliances. Here's a principle Machiavelli would recognize. The strongest bonds aren't built on love or friendship alone. They're built on mutual benefit. When two people help each other succeed, that relationship survives anything. When it's one-sided, it dies the moment convenience fades. Strategic giving isn't cold. It's intelligent. It's recognizing that your resources, time, energy, knowledge, connections are limited. Investing them wisely means they multiply and return to you. Investing them randomly means they disappear forever. Start mapping your network right now. Who have you helped? Who's helped you? Where's the balance? Where's the imbalance? Then adjust your strategy accordingly. Give more to those who reciprocate. Give less to those who just take. Watch your network transform into an actual asset instead of a drain. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I invest in reciprocity. Number 6. Master the art of strategic ambiguity. You explain too much. You're too transparent. You lay all your cards on the table and wonder why people maneuver you. Here's why. Clarity gives people ammunition. Ambiguity gives you options. Machiavelli operated in a world where saying the wrong thing to the wrong person meant death. So he mastered saying everything and nothing simultaneously. He learned that the less specific you are, the harder you are to pin down. The more open to interpretation, the more people project their own meaning, usually in your favor. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But the second method, look at how little he reveals while appearing to reveal everything." That's strategic ambiguity. Here's how this plays out. Someone asks about your plans. You could tell them exactly what you're doing. Now, they can copy you, compete with you, or judge whether your plan is worth supporting. Or you could say, "I'm working on some interesting opportunities, still figuring out the details." Same question. Zero vulnerability. You've shared nothing while appearing transparent. Someone asks your opinion on something controversial. You could take a clear position and potentially alienate half the room. Or you could say, "There are valid points on multiple sides." It's complex. You've now avoided enemies while seeming thoughtful. Everyone thinks you secretly agree with them. Strategic ambiguity isn't lying. It's being selectively clear. It's understanding that every piece of information you give away is a piece of power you surrender. The more people know about your plans, the more they can interfere. The more they know about your opinions, the more they can use it against you. The more they know about your strategy, the more they can counter it. Watch people in high-stakes environments. They never fully reveal their hand. They speak in ways that can be interpreted multiple ways. They commit to nothing while appearing to commit to everything. That flexibility is power. Let me give you concrete applications. You're negotiating. The other side asks your bottom line. You could tell them and lose leverage, or you say, "I'm flexible." Depending on the overall package, you've kept your power while seeming reasonable. Someone asks if you're looking for a new opportunity. You could say no in closed doors, or say yes and seem desperate. Instead, "I'm always open to conversations about the right opportunity." You've positioned yourself as selective, not desperate or closed off. Here's the psychological edge. When you're ambiguous, people fill in the gaps with their assumptions, and they usually assume in your favor if you've built other credibility. They think you're being humble when you're actually being strategic. They think you're being thoughtful when you're actually protecting information. They think you're complex when you're actually just refusing to be easily read. But there's a balance. Too much ambiguity makes you seem wishy-washy or untrustworthy. The skill is being clear enough to seem genuine, but ambiguous enough to maintain flexibility. Here's the framework. Be clear about values and character. Be ambiguous about tactics and specifics. People need to trust who you are, but they don't need to know exactly what you're doing or how you're doing it. I value honesty and loyalty. Clear and builds trust. Here's my exact plan for the next 6 months. Unnecessary clarity that creates vulnerability. Strategic ambiguity also protects you from commitment you might regret. Someone wants you to commit to something. You could say yes and be locked in, or say no and burn a bridge instead. Let me think about how this fits with everything else I have going on and get back to you. You've left the door open while committing to nothing. The most powerful application when someone's trying to manipulate you through forced choices. Are you with us or against us? Neither. I'm focused on what's best for everyone involved. You've escaped their binary trap with ambiguity. People will pressure you for clarity. Just give me a straight answer. No, you give them the answer that serves your interests. Sometimes that's straight. Sometimes it's strategically vague. You decide based on what benefits you, not what makes them comfortable. Here's what I want you to practice for the next week. When someone asks you something that doesn't require a clear answer, give them an ambiguous one. Watch how much power you maintain. Watch how people struggle to pin you down. Watch how your flexibility increases. The clearest people are the easiest to predict, counter, and defeat. The strategically ambiguous are impossible to corner because you never quite know where they stand. And that uncertainty is intimidating. Number 7. Cultivate strategic alliances, but trust no one completely. Here's the hardest truth in this entire video. Everyone is loyal until the cost of loyalty exceeds the benefit. Everyone has a breaking point. Everyone has a price. And the moment you forget, that is the moment someone you trust destroys you. Machiavelli watched it happen over and over. Best friends betraying each other, loyal generals turning on their leaders, trusted advisors selling secrets, not because people are inherently evil, but because circumstances change and self-interest is the only constant. Machiavelli once said, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." But here's the deeper lesson. Don't choose love or fear. Choose strategic alliances based on mutual benefit, maintained through respect and protected through awareness that everyone, including you, is ultimately self-interested. Let me destroy some fantasies. That person who swears they'd never betray you, they will if the stakes get high enough. That friend who's been there forever. Circumstances could turn them into your enemy tomorrow. That partner who claims unconditional loyalty. That condition is just well hidden. This isn't cynicism. This is realism. And realism keeps you from the devastating spurs of betrayal. Here's how you build relationships in a Machiavellian way. Create alliances where both parties benefit more from loyalty than from betrayal. When the math favors staying aligned, people stay aligned. When it shifts, they don't. Your job is to structure relationships where loyalty is the logical choice. Example, you have information someone wants. You could give it all away to prove trust. Or you could share pieces strategically over time, ensuring they stay aligned with you to get the rest. That's not manipulation. That's smart alliance building. Or you help someone build their success, but you build it in a way where they need you to maintain it, not through sabotage or control, but through genuine interdependence. Now, loyalty isn't emotional. It's practical, and practical loyalty lasts longer than emotional loyalty. But here's the crucial principle. Never give anyone complete power over you. Never tell one person all your secrets. Never become so dependent on one relationship that its loss would destroy you. Distribute your trust across multiple people so that no single betrayal can sink you. Think of it like financial investment. You don't put everything in one stock because if it crashes, you're ruined. Same with trust. You don't invest everything in one person because if they turn, you're devastated. Diversify your dependencies. Spread your vulnerabilities. Protect your core. Now, some of you are thinking this sounds lonely. It's not. It's liberated. You can love people deeply while understanding they're human and therefore fallible. You can build meaningful connections while maintaining awareness that circumstances change people. The difference between naivety and wisdom. Naive people trust blindly and get destroyed when human nature reveals itself. Wise people trust consciously, build smart alliances, and never get shocked when loyalty shifts because they always saw it as conditional and planned accordingly. Here's your strategic framework for alliances. Identify people whose success benefits your success. Build relationships with them based on mutual elevation. Help them win in ways that require your continued involvement. Make yourself valuable enough that betraying you would cost them more than staying loyal. At the same time, never reveal everything. Keep some cards hidden. Maintain options outside of any single relationship. Build a network where losing one connection hurts but doesn't destroy. And watch for signs of shifting loyalty. When someone's circumstances change, their priorities change. When their priorities change, their loyalty might too. Don't be shocked. Be prepared. Adjust your trust accordingly. Machiavelli's ultimate insight. The person who expects perfect loyalty from imperfect humans will spend their life disappointed and betrayed. The person who understands loyalty is conditional and builds accordingly will create a network of strong alliances that last as long as they serve everyone involved. That's not cold. That's sustainable. That's how you build relationships that survive the test of changing circumstances. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I build smart alliances. So, there it is. 7 lessons that just rewired how you see human nature. 7 patterns that cannot be unseen now that you know they exist. You learned that emotional detachment gives you power over your own reactions. That studying people reveals predictable patterns you can navigate. That your absence creates more value than your constant presence. That controlling perception matters more than controlling reality. That strategic giving builds influence through reciprocity. That ambiguity protects you, while clarity makes you vulnerable. And that smart alliances beat blind loyalty every single time. These aren't theories. These are patterns that have repeated for 500 years, since Machiavelli first wrote them down. Before that, they repeated for thousands of years. After today, they'll keep repeating. The only question is, will you recognize them or will you keep being their victim? Here's what separates how you use this knowledge. Some of you will use these lessons to protect yourself from a world that's already using them against you. You'll build boundaries. You'll spot manipulation before it lands. You'll create relationships based on mutual respect instead of exploitation. You'll navigate life with your eyes open instead of stumbling through blind trust. Machiavelli gave you the map. Your character determines the destination. I'll tell you something he understood. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards effectiveness. Being good feels nice. Being effective changes your life. The real power being effective while maintaining your soul, using these tools to build instead of destroy. Protecting yourself while not becoming the thing you're protecting against. That's the tightrope every intelligent person must walk and most fall off. So the question isn't will you play the game. The question is what kind of player will you become? Because once you've seen the truth, there's no going back.